he shot he vision at his brain. A kid dies, and he's like,
Yeah.
what?
I know. It's one of those kind of like, you know, when like Spider-Man like flings like a manhole cover at a person and he's like, they're fine. And you're like, they're dead.
They're dead. I'm so sorry to break your bubble, Spider-Man, but you just murdered them.
Everyone, you won't believe it. So 2 days ago, we tried to record and we hit major technical problems. So then we sat down this morning to try to record again and we hit technical problems.
Yeah.
And we just restarted for a second time.
Yeah. So then this needs to be it.
So third time's a charm, right? Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we said some stuff in the other 2 tries. I'm just going to blaze right past that because I don't want to say it all again.
Yeah, no. Let's get into it.
Most importantly, this is Smallville Season 6, Part 2.
Somebody save me.
Don't care how you do it. Brief recap. We ended Season 6, Part 1 on the sad note that Lois and Oliver broke up because Oliver has gone off to find other heroes to make his Justice League. He tells Lois he's leaving on business because she doesn't know he's the Green Arrow. And she's like, then I'm not going to wait around for you to come back. And he says, I don't know when I'll be back. And you're like, well, okay, great. So that's where we left off. Okay? Everybody feel caught up? Awesome.
I feel caught up.
Great. We stopped there, one, because I'd talked so long already, and it works because the second half of Season 6 takes quite a turn for Clark, Lois, honestly, everyone involved, but so it just worked. Part 2, we start with Season 6, Episode 13, entitled Crimson. Get ready for the biggest tease of the series so far. All right? All right. I'm still not over it, and I know how the series ends. It is Valentine's Day. Love is in the air, at least for Chloe and Jimmy, the happy couple involved. There is a Valentine's Day party going on at the Talon, and Chloe decides to bring Clark to try to get him over his Lana is marrying Lex slump that he's in. Meanwhile, Jimmy decides to bring Lois to try to get her out of her Oliver left me behind slump. Okay?
Okay.
So Chloe and Jimmy show up at the Talon with their unassuming victims at their side, and Jimmy pulls Chloe aside and tells her he has the best setup idea ever. Lois and Clark. What?
Thank God.
Finally. Fucking finally.
Yeah,
Thank you,
yeah.
Jimmy. Chloe.
Jimmy is us.
Jimmy is all of us.
Yeah, he's the character that serves us.
Yes. So he's like, this is ridiculous. Why aren't they together already? Have we seen them? And Chloe is like, this is a bad idea, which totally isn't coming from any unresolved feelings from her past.
It's not that it would burn like hot lava to see her cousin have everything she wanted.
I mean, flashback
No.
to the dunk tank scene.
Yeah,
like she
literally.
immediately like just receded
All
back.
this time you ever take.
Avril started playing in the back of her mind, and she's like,
Yeah.
this is a bad idea, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, while Chloe and Jimmy are having this little conversation, obviously Clark and Lois realize that they've been set up. And neither of them are wanting that at this particular moment in time. Wounds are still very fresh. Clark excuses himself. And Lois is like, yeah, bye. Okay, while Lois is standing there deciding what she wants to do, this lady at a, love spell fortune-telling type booth behind her hollers over at her and is like, a little down on love. Which I'm sure Lois is like, thanks, just what you want to hear from a stranger. Lois is basically like, yes. Love Potion Lady is like, here, try this. And she hands Lois this special lipstick, to which she informs Lois, it's made of jasmine and a mixture of aphrodisiac oils. I get the brilliant hue from red meteor rocks.
Oh.
Red meteor rock. If any of you don't remember, red meteor rock is a red kryptonite, which strips Clark of all his inhibitions. Pin that for later.
Okay, now you know.
So she hands Lois this lipstick. Lois says, this is going to make me fall in love with someone new. Love Potion Lady. The first man you set eyes on, Lois. Putting the lipstick on. Who knows? Maybe this color will look good on me, huh? Because Lois is the type of lady that's like, whatever. You know, free lipstick, I'll take it. So she puts the lipstick on in the mirror. And wha-bam! Who's the first person she sees? Clark, obviously. As it should be.
Convenient. Yes.
So, love is in her eyes. It's Clark. Cut to the next morning. Clark comes downstairs and Martha asks how the Valentine's Day party was. Clark's like, please don't ask. Then there's a knock at the door. Martha goes and answers it to find Lois standing on the porch in a very low-cut shirt, short skirt, and knee-high leather boots. Lois is getting it. She looks amazing. Lois is reapplying the aforementioned lipstick and asks if Clark is home. Martha, gobsmacked, genuinely stunned, says, yeah, and lets Lois inside. I think there's a little part of Martha that's kind of like, okay.
Okay, yeah, you know what? If you want it that bad, go ahead. Go get him.
And I think she's kind of like, Lois, yes, please, Clark, date Lois. Can we move on?
Anyone but fucking Lana, dear God.
Because Martha loves Lois. Not that she doesn't love Lana, but I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So, Lois comes in. Meanwhile, Clark is innocently pouring himself some orange juice, just trying to make breakfast. And before even looking over at Lois, he starts to say, hey, Lois, listen, I'm sorry that Jimmy pulled you into that last night. I mean, after Oliver and... Lois immediately cuts him off and says, Oliver's history. Clark, now taking in Lois and her attire and her proximity. Lois continues that with, actually, Mrs. K, can you give us a couple minutes? Martha, yeah, I'll be upstairs. She goes upstairs. Lois saunters over to Clark, all like, you know, what's her name? Jessica Rabbit-esque.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Clark just watches her walk over because he's kind of like, what is happening?
Happening right
do
now.
I like? Am I cool?
I awake?
Yeah. He's like, what? Lois. Here we find ourselves all alone. How did I never notice what big, strong hands you have? And Lois starts tracing his hand with her finger, and Clark giggles like a little schoolgirl. And he pulls his hand away, and he's like, what's going on, Lois? Lois, well, you know me. I'm not very good with words, so pulls out a mixed CD. People don't think Whitesnake sings power ballads, but they do. And she hands him this mixed CD, and he's like, you made me a mixed CD? Lois, yeah, I will kill you if you tell anyone this, but there's nothing that I love more than slow dancing with some big, strong arms around me, just like yours, Smallville. And she pulls him in and like wraps her arms around his waist, and he enjoys this a little too much, and then catches himself and says, Lois, why don't you go put this on? Telling her to go put the CD into the CD player. And Lois is like, okay, and walks over to turn the music on, and then Clark super speeds the fuck out of there because he cannot compute.
He's overwhelmed.
He's short-circuiting.
Lois is like a hell of a woman to start with.
I mean, yes.
Like,
as I may have mentioned once or twice. Cut to the planet. Chloe gets to work and finds flowers on her desk from Jimmy because they're adorable. And the card to the flowers says, thanks for the first not sucky Valentine's Day. And you're like, oh. Meanwhile, Clark barges up behind her, all out of sorts. And he's like, we were supposed to meet 20 minutes ago. And she's like, you're fine. Because she thinks He's wanting an update about Martian Manhunter, who I briefly mentioned in part 1, because she's like trying to figure out who he is, more about him, etc.
Mm-hmm.
She tells him she's been trying to find some stuff, but no luck so far. Clark, we have another Manhunter to worry about. Lois. Chloe, why does that make me picture her wielding an axe at every man in Metropolis? Clark, she's only after one man. Lois is into me. And he hands her the mixtape. And Chloe is looking at it and she's like, because the CD, Lois has hand-drawn artwork for it and written out all of the song titles on the back. Like,
oh my.
Yes. So he hands this to Chloe and she's like, wow, she really pulled out all the stops. Clark, she's not herself, all right? It's like she overdosed on love potion number 9 or something. Chloe begins to laugh. Clark, this isn't funny. Pretty funny. Chloe, we have to find out what happened before she strikes again. Chloe, too late, because Lois is sauntering up behind Clark. She walks up to him and pulls her shirt aside to reveal a tattoo on her chest of a heart that says Lois and Clark forever. Chloe then realizes Clark is not joking and Lois might very well have taken something. So yes. Chloe casually excuses herself and hurries out to investigate, once again leaving Clark alone with Lois. He tries to pull Lois aside to ask her what is going on, and then she pushes him into the like closet phone booth thing that the planet has. Right. And she's like, it doesn't matter, and then kisses him. Well, guess what? The red meteor rock infused lipstick naturally gets all up in Clark's system and immediately turns him into our signature red kryptonite bad boy Clark. Clark and Lois then sneak into some random office to keep making out, and as they're kissing, Lois realizes she recognizes this kiss. Ding, ding, ding. She's like, oh my gosh, you're the Green Arrow. You're who I kissed in the alley that night. And Clark's like, oh, no, I was only pretending to be so you wouldn't find out it was Oliver. Which naturally sends Lois reeling for a second because she's like, what? But Clark's like, I'm so much better than Oliver. He says, you know, Lois, I think it's time for you to meet the real Clark Kent. Now, quick aside to Lex and Lana. If we remember, Lana is carrying Lex's baby. Okay. So we have this cute little aside where Lex has redecorated one of the bedrooms in the mansion to be a nursery, and he's filled it with blankets and stuffed animals, and he holds up like a blanket with a stegosaurus on it and a blanket with a baby duck on it, and he's like, but the big question is stegosaurus or baby duck? And
stegosaurus.
Yes, like
there's
no question. No question.
Yeah, no.
I think that every time. I'm like, also, Lex, like, you're going to put baby duck? No.
Okay.
Lana probably said baby duck. Anyway.
She's going to raise a weak mama's boy. I'm just kidding.
Back to Clark and Lois. Clark takes Lois to the roof of the planet, and he's all like, that's Oliver's balcony over there, isn't it? And then he lifts Lois up onto the edge of the building, grabs her, and then super jumps across town and lands on Oliver's balcony. So it's just insane how outright he is about his powers when he's on red kryptonite. Like, he's just like, ta-da! And everybody's like, what? Well, so Lois...
Yeah, they're like checking a lot of boxes really quick.
Which Lois is like, so much makes sense now. And I'm like, duh. So they land on Oliver's balcony and just barge into his apartment because they're going to just keep fooling around in there. Like, damn. To which Lois says, the last time I was here, I was with a good friend of yours, Clark. Obviously, he wasn't that good. Like, woo. They keep making out, and as Clark lays Lois down on a chaise, he eyes the invitation to Lex and Lana's engagement party that's sitting on the end table. Interesting that Oliver was invited, now that I think about it, because he and Lex are not friends.
Yeah, and then also, like, how long ago did they send out the invitations?
Probably like a month ago, because Lex is, you know, one of those hosts that it's like, save the date type thing.
Yeah.
So, and I think, yeah, Oliver's maybe been gone for a few weeks. So it checks out that the invitation would be there. I was just
why would it be there?
I've never thought about, like, why? I guess to keep up appearances. It would look really good to have Oliver there.
Oh, yeah. Isn't he just like another millionaire child in the...
Yes.
Yeah, so business.
So Clark eyes this invitation and he's like, oh, yeah, we're crashing this bitch. Meanwhile, back at the planet, Chloe has a lead on what Lois might have gotten into to turn her this way. But she has to hurry to the engagement party that I just mentioned because Chloe is Lana's best friend, if we've forgotten. And
it's easy to forget because they don't have much together.
They're not together.
They're like never together, but they are best friends.
They're best friends. It's more a narrative on Lana than Chloe, that like Chloe is Lana's best friend. Like Lana is clearly
Chloe's like, you're like my number 4.
Yeah,
but cool.
But we don't have to, like, you know, it's not about ranking. Anyway, she's got to hurry to the engagement party, but Jimmy's there and Jimmy's like, let me do it. Like, I can do cases too. Like, I got the pictures of the Green Arrow, remember? And Chloe is like, you're right. I can delegate. I can do that. So she gives Jimmy the info and tells him to go hunt down Love Potion Lady, which he does. Jimmy finds the boutique apothecary type shop that Love Potion Lady owns. So he goes in and he's like, hey, whatever you gave my friend last night is arguably too strong and they need an antidote like right now, or whatever you can give me to make them snap out of it. And Love Potion Lady's just like, oh yeah, here, and hands him some sort of perfume that is clearly made with green kryptonite. So we know immediately it's going to work. But it's also funny, like, does this happen a lot? She just like has these counter agents at the ready.
Or she's just choosing chaos. Like, she's like, she wants it to be too much. But in the rare occasion that happens, she's like, fine. Like, here's the medicine, I guess.
Love Potion Lady hands Jimmy this perfume, but she says her potions merely enhance what's already there. That Clark and Lois are more connected than they might realize. She says your two friends must be more connected than they might realize, because she obviously doesn't know who they are, but we know this lady's onto something. Love Potion Lady and Jimmy are all of us working together.
We're trying.
Smash cut to the engagement party. Everyone's all happy and looking elegant and eating dessert, and then bam! Clark bursts open the doors, Aragorn and Lord of the Rings style, Lois at his side, and they are both leather-clad, looking ridiculous and incredible at the same time. Like, where did they get these clothes? Why do they have them? But also, why do they look so good?
Because of who is in them.
So they come in their leather ensembles. Clark marches in, guns blazing, hurling insults at everyone in attendance, just like going down the table, like, and you suck, and this, and this. He makes a dig at Martha, his own mother. How dare you? He taunts Chloe about feelings she might still have for him. Unacceptable. Below the belt.
Yes.
But worst of all, he raises a glass, looks at Lex, and says, to baby Luther, the real reason that Lana's marrying you. Outing Lana's pregnancy in front of everyone.
Yikes.
Obviously, Lex then charges at Clark, but then Clark throws him into a table because Lex poses no threat to Clark whatsoever.
Right.
Clark then grabs Lana and starts to leave. Lois stops him and says, I don't think so. Lana is your past. I'm your future. Clark, and this is the present.
Okay, then what have we been doing all day? Like, we went shopping for matching leather outfits to come crash this party, and you're gonna leave?
That was not the plan. So Clark just leaves with Lana. He may as well just have thrown her over his shoulder because she did barely put up a fight and she's so small. He could have just carried her out like a rag doll.
Yeah.
So upon this display, Chloe and Martha realize Clark has had to have been infected by red kryptonite. Jimmy calls Chloe and informs them, yes, the reason Lois has been acting weird is because of a lipstick made with red meteor rock. So Chloe and Martha are like, yup, we were right. So Martha hurries out to go find Clark. And then shortly after, Jimmy shows up with the perfume antidote stuff. They spray it on Lois and she snaps back into reality, which is good because right before they spray her with the perfume, she's sitting there eating like 3 different plates of this chocolate dessert that's been on the table.
No.
And she's just sitting there like, I just don't get what she has that I don't.
I don't either.
None of us do, Lois. Cut to the barn, naturally. Clark brings Lana upstairs to his loft, and he's trying to force her not to marry Lex. He kisses her, and he tells her to marry him instead, causing Lana all but to fall to pieces. She yells at him with tears in her eyes. She says, I have given you every chance. I have stood in this spot so many times just waiting for you to say something, and you decide to do it now? You don't love me, Clark. You just can't stand the idea that I love someone else. One of the few,
it needed to be said.
One of the few times I will ever applaud Lana, but darn fucking right, because like 3 episodes ago, she really was standing right there being like, if you can just be honest with me, that will change everything. And he couldn't. So
too late.
Also, he's doing it now in like clearly some like drug-addled rage.
Yeah.
So especially like what would she really do or say to you right now with you behaving like this, Clark?
Right.
So Lex shows up. Clark continues to harass Lex. Lana urges Lex not to take the bait, that Clark's clearly on something. Lex and Clark get into another fight, and Clark almost strangles Lex to death. While this is happening, Lex tries to stab Clark with like a chisel he's grabbed off of a tool bench, which actually happens to hurt Clark because right as he does that, Martha is standing behind Clark holding kryptonite behind her back. So Clark collapses and Lex and Lana are able to make a run for it. Then Martha like sits down with the kryptonite as Clark's sweating out the red kryptonite. Then he comes to and snaps back to himself. The next morning, Clark and Martha are then talking about everything that went down while he had the red K in his system. He's just like, sorry, you know, and she's like, yeah, maybe we should like talk about stuff. And he's like, I'm fine. He's like, I'd have done all that anyway.
I don't think I need to.
I'd rather not, actually. Lois comes bounding up the stairs. Martha excuses herself so that Clark and Lois can talk. Lois awkwardly tells Clark that she doesn't really remember anything after putting on the lipstick the first time that night at the Talon. Everything else is a blur. Lois. Well, I talked to Chloe and she filled me in on Lois Gone Wild, but I'm just missing a few details about us, like this. And she pulls her shirt aside to reveal, if you've forgotten, the Lois and Clark Forever tattoo. Clark. Wow, Lois, I had no idea. Lois. Save it, Smallville. I was obviously on something. Thank God the ink wears off in a week. I guess it's best that neither of us remembers. I mean, I can't even really picture the two of us. You don't think that we... Clark plays coy, giving her a look as to what she could possibly be referring to. Clark. Think that we... What? Lois. You know, that we... Clark keeps playing coy, trying to get her to say it. Lois pleads with him with her eyes. Like, please don't make me say this out loud. Clark, no, Lois. I think I'd remember. Lois stands up and says, yeah, of course you would. Highlight of your life. And then she starts to walk away, and Clark says, though I did find something, and he pulls out the mix CD. From inside his desk drawer, might I add. So he had every intention on keeping that.
Yeah.
He shows it to her, and she looks at what this thing she has made for him, and she says, Whitesnake, wow, I must have really liked you. And then they like share a look, and then she just leaves, just like,
you did. You did really like him.
Also, Amy and I had a moment the first time around where we acknowledged Lois's comment about thank God the ink wears off in a week regarding her tattoo, and we figured perhaps it was like a Valentine's Day situation where you could go and they would like make you a temporary tattoo with like, you know, your sweetheart's name on it. or something. I feel like that's plausible, right?
Because it was red. It was a red tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if it's red, like it has any kind of like color, it's not going to be a henna because hennas are brown.
Right.
And then a tattoo from a tattoo parlor is there till you die.
It's
pretty much.
It could wear off in a week.
So yeah, it would have to be some sort of tattoo. Like maybe you just get it's a heart and then like you say the name and then they put the name on it and then give you it.
Right. I can believe that. Like,
yeah.
We really took a second to think about that one because every time I watch the episode, I am like, and we're just accepting that.
See, but what would have been better is if they didn't do that part. That's starting over. That's refreshing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it's an animated show.
Right.
I don't like that. I think what they should have done is made it so that it's there all the time. They could have played on it a little bit, like when she has other boyfriends and they're like,
oh yeah,
what's that? Maybe sometimes you just kind of see it in her clothes,
yes,
you know, like really subtle. But they should have kept it because at that point, Lois would have gotten a real one.
Yes, she would have,
not a temp one.
And
so,
if it were my show, she absolutely would have kept it. If Bob can keep his weird ass Equestronauts tattoo, Lois is keeping that Smallville tattoo.
Right.
And she would wear it with pride. She'd be like, yeah, fucking did it.
Yeah, it's here now. I don't.
And then how great would it be later when they actually end up together?
Yeah, and then it works out, and then, yeah.
Missed opportunity, CW.
Mm-hmm.
This is why they need us.
Stop trying to make everybody perfect.
They're not. Thank you for joining us on that tangent. We're going to skip episodes 614 and 615. Lois isn't in either of them. A crime. What's important to
mistake,
like you give us that and then she's not in the next two episodes, what we all had to like cool down a second.
Yeah, they were teasing.
Yeah. But what's important to note from those two episodes is that Lana is moments away from figuring out Clark's secret, finally. She's putting the pieces together for real. And she does in episode 16, which is called Promise, and takes place on her wedding day. So she sets up this like really intricate little domino line of events to happen to get Clark to unknowingly out his powers to her.
Mm.
She sets up all these things for Chloe to have to call Clark to have him do something. And then like Lana's in the background, like she sees him use his powers. So then on her wedding day, she goes and tells Clark that she's not going to marry Lex because now she knows. Clark doesn't know she knows, but she knows. So she tells Clark to wait for her, and Clark obviously gets very excited. But unbeknownst to Clark, then back at the mansion, Lionel, Lex's father, threatens Lana. He says if she dares to leave Lex at the altar and embarrass Lex like that, he will kill Clark. He's like, I know you know he has powers. Guess what? I know he has powers, and I have for a long time, and I also know how to kill him. And if you leave Lex, I will kill him. So, shocker, Lana goes through with the wedding.
Wow, weird. Yeah.
I, like, really didn't expect
What a baller move. What a baller move, though, on Lionel's part. Like, I must admit. Like, obviously bad. Don't want Superman to die. Also, why would you want your son to be with someone who doesn't love him?
Right.
But, like, just as far as, like, threat level and, like, mic drop.
Oh, yeah, it's up
like,
there.
Fucking, like, she found out moments ago, and he's like, bitch, I have known forever.
Yup.
I know how to kill him, and I'll kill him. Like, oh, fuck. Okay. So, like.
Also, Lionel has gone to great lengths to seem like he's trying to be a father figure to Clark. So it's also, like, coming out of the woodwork, like, that's all been an act, too? Like.
It's
a big Lionel moment.
To the point where his mom works with Lionel.
Yeah, kind of. Like, he's helping her with her senatorial campaign thing.
Okay, yeah.
So, yeah. Big yeet moment. Lana goes through with the wedding. Clark has been waiting for her. She doesn't show up, so he shows up to the mansion. And when he confronts her, she says that she just had a moment of cold feet, but she still wants to be with Lex. Clark begs her to tell him what's really going on. And he desperately starts to confide all of his secrets about his powers. He's like, is it because you like feel like I've been lying to you? Well, okay, then fine. Like, here's everything. Like, I'm not from here. And she like cuts him off really fast before he can say anything incriminating. And she says, that doesn't make any difference. I made my choice and I love him and you need to leave. So it's like, and she leaves and Clark leaves and it's sad.
Yeah.
I hate Lana and Clark with every fiber of my being, but I am a human and I can empathize that moment is sad. Mm-hmm. For both of them.
Yeah.
And Lex, all things considered, because he does not know.
Yeah, no, he's over there just happy as a clam, I would assume.
He's like, wow, ready. Lana, she's so beautiful.
It's all working out for me right now. Like,
he's like, look at us.
Who would have thought?
Not me. Moving on. Episode 17 is called Combat. If you remember from part 1, I mentioned at the very beginning that when Clark is in the Phantom Zone, some Phantom Zone wraiths follow him through the portal and out back into the world. And a subplot is that he's been trying to find these wraiths to send them back to the Phantom Zone. That comes up now in this episode.
Okay.
This is why I mentioned it. They happened to be in 2 separate parts, but that is okay. Combat. Episode 17 is called Combat. It starts with Oliver calling Clark to give him a tip about an underground cage fighting ring that has formed in Metropolis. And Clark gets ready to go follow up on it. But Martha comes up reading the newspaper. She mentions several citizen arrests that have been made, except the culprits have been delivered to the police in pretty rough shape. Like, they have to take them to the hospital after they get to the police station. And she's like, you know anything about that? And she tells Clark she's worried he's getting a little too aggressive and he's letting his feelings out on these criminals. He rebuttals, telling her they were meteor infected and put up a fight. She's like, don't bullshit your own mother. Like, no one can put up a fight for you. Let's be real. And he tells her that the reason he's making all of these arrests and stuff is he's not distracted by his feelings for Lana anymore. And he can focus on what's important. And then he storms off, fiercely brooding. So, yes, he is doing well. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cut to the planet. Clark and Chloe are watching footage from the aforementioned Crypto Fight Club. Turns out a bunch of the fighters are meteor infected, except for the prize fighter, Titan, who by the tattoo on his arm, Clark realizes is from the Phantom Zone. Whoa. Fast forward to the next day. Clark and Chloe have a lead now on how to get into this fight club and find this alleged Kryptonian escapee. They're at the Talon, like looking over all their stuff, and then Lois storms in, moody that she has no leads on any stories, and she's like, what you guys, what's she looking at? What you working on? What's that? And they're like, oh, nothing. And they like wad up their stuff and like throw it away and they quickly leave because they don't want her to get hurt because it's like a meteor infected fight club, you know? Mm-hmm. So they hurry out, which obviously makes Lois be like, okay, so something's serious. I obviously am going to follow them. And she like pulls a couple papers out of the trash and is able to deduce where they're going. Jump to the abandoned military hangar where this fight club is, which is why Lois is able to put together where it is because she's a military brat. She knows where these places are. So she saunters in wearing a full-on red leather jumpsuit.
Dope.
Think like Catwoman, but red. As she's walking in, she's stopped by some security lady who is clearly like a fighter herself. And Lois can tell security lady thinks Lois is hot. So Lois leans into this. Swoon. Lois says she's a dancer at the club up the street and she just needs water for her radiator because her car broke down. And security lady buys Lois's story and takes the jug to go fill it with water, leaving Lois in the like lobby, and she starts taking pictures of all the tech and stuff in the ring. And Security lady obviously then sneaks up behind her and tries to take her out because she actually clocked Lois was not a dancer. Lois wins the fight, though, but suddenly, out of nowhere, the ringleader of the fight arena shows up and pulls a gun on Lois. As they always seem to do.
Yeah, gun beats fist.
Every time.
Almost every time.
Crucial side note, big, brief tone shift in the middle of this episode. Lana collapses at the mansion and, like, starts seizing. And Lex has to rush her to the hospital. And when Lana wakes up, Lex tells her there were complications and they lost the baby.
Yeah, that's pretty hefty.
But, yeah.
Hefty subplot in that one.
Jump back to the Fight Club.
Yeah.
Clark.
Without skipping a beat.
Yeah, just commercial break. That's done. Clark has figured out how to get into the Fight Club, basically because he's massive and super strong, and they're like, yes, please come in.
Yeah.
So he gets all suited up to fight, and they put him in the ring, and surprise, his opponent is Lois. And they're like, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? And they're like doing their little like boxer walk, you know, trying to like talk to each other. And Lois tells him to just punch her, like, hard enough to make it look real. She'll hit the mat, she'll get taken out, and then they'll leave her, and she can keep investigating while Clark does the other fight. And Clark's like, I'm not gonna hit you. And she's like, fine, then you take the dive. And she punches him in the stomach and nearly breaks her hand because of the impact on his abs. Ow! Shortly after this, the prize fighter Titan that we've mentioned charges into the ring because he recognizes Clark. He just throws open the gate. Clark turns to Lois and tells her to run, and then Titan punches Clark in the face and sends him flying across the floor.
Jesus.
Lois, being Lois, throws herself at Titan, who then throws her off onto the floor like it's nothing, immediately knocking her unconscious because, Lois, you just punched Clark in the stomach and almost broke your hand. You then watched this beast throw him across the floor with one punch. But you think, I mean, like, admirable. Yeah. She jumps first, thinks later. She was thought she was defending Clark. I love it. But baby girl.
But see, at that point, your only attack really is to jump on his back and scratch out his eyes.
Yes.
That's the only, you know,
which she did jump on his back.
advantage.
Maybe that's what she was trying. He throws her off, knocking her unconscious, and then Titan continues to beat the shit out of Clark. Clark finally collects himself enough to land some hits on Titan, and then Clark's feeling like rage, and he uppercuts Titan so hard that Titan falls on his own stone dagger, impaling himself. And then Titan dies right there in the ring.
Heavy episode.
Yeah. And Clark...
Lots of death in this one.
Yes. Clark just sees him die, and then, like, picks up Lois and carries her out of there. So the next day, Clark realizes he doesn't know how to send the Phantom Zone escapees back, and the only way he knows how to stop them is by killing them, which is not going to work because watching Titan die was changing, to say the least. Yes. And he realizes he was taking out his grief on the bad guys he was fighting, and he let it go too far, just like Martha said. And she tells him, yes, that look at what just happened when he was on the red kryptonite. Like, he buries everything he's feeling ever so far down that he doesn't allow himself to just have, like, normal feelings. So then anything that triggers it, he goes, like, 0 to 100, you know? Mm-hmm. She's like, you haven't learned how to, like, just live at, like, 50. And that's not good for you. So, good, like, also, like, what just happened?
My light just fell. It was my knee.
It's a good conversation with Martha and Clark, mom to son, and just for Clark in general to be having these realizations about himself and realizing, like, I gotta figure this out just for life.
Right. But, you know, like, are you any better than them if you kill them?
Exactly. No. So, yeah. Then we're gonna skip episode 18 because Lois isn't in it. It's a good Chloe episode. We meet her biological mom, played by Linda Carter, the original Wonder Woman.
Very cool.
A fun little homage episode. It's a good episode, but skipping. Also skipping 619, which is a good Clark and Lex episode, but once more, no Lois. 620 is called Noir, and it's super fun. It's an homage to the impeccable Golden Age noirs like Double Indemnity. Movie fans out there, if you have not seen Double Indemnity, go watch Double Indemnity. Best noir, hands down. Lois is in this. Everyone's in this. And she's stunning. And the episode is great. But it doesn't actually drive the plot. Like it's just a one-off fun episode. Mm-hmm. So there's no Clark and Lois anything in it. Just had to mention it because it's great. Jumping to 621. Prototype. At the beginning of this episode, there's a bunch of Lex and Lana stuff, and then some more Lex stuff, and then some Clark interrogating Lionel stuff, and it's just too much. I'm not going to get into it, but you need to know what happened.
Okay.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Cut to the main plot of the episode with Lois. She heads out from the Talon in pursuit of a lead she has on a dirty senator. She catches him on his way into a nightclub and tries to bombard him with questions, but the senator sicks his security on her. Out of nowhere, some T-1000 wannabe appears and takes out the senator and his men. If you don't understand the T-1000 reference, it is the Terminator in T2.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
So this T-1000 wannabe appears, takes out the senator's security. Lois sees the T-1000 dude when he morphs back into human form, and she says, Wes? The T-1000, or Wes, freezes for a moment, looking at Lois, but as soon as he hears police sirens in the distance, he vanishes, and he's gone. And you're like,
okay.
What? Jump cut to the planet. Clark hurries over, hearing that Lois was in a scuffle, and he finds her there with Chloe, and Clark realizes Lois was there when the Oh, did I even say that? Yes, I said he takes out the senator and his men. Well, the T-1000 kills the senator. Important note. Clark realizes Lois was there when the senator was killed, so he's like, oh my God, are you okay? What happened? Lois, well, 1 minute I was harassing a public official, and the next, he came out of nowhere like a ghost. Burke and his men never had a chance. Clark, you saw who did this? Lois, yeah, I did more than see him, Clark. I know him. His name's Wes Keenan. We were army brats together when we were kids. So she really knows him. So Chloe immediately runs a check on Wes's name, and she asks Lois if she's sure it was Wes. Lois insists, yes, I know him. She says he has a scar above his right eye. She's positive it's Wes. Chloe tells her she must be mistaken, though, because Wes was killed in action in a helicopter crash 4 months ago.
Whoa.
Dun,
so they're using his body.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Cut to a lab. There's always a lab. And Lex is always in it. Turns out he has put a mind control chip into this guy Wes's brain, and he plans to use him as his own T-1000 super soldier to do all his dirty work.
Lex? No.
Lex.
Buddy.
Not again.
Stop.
Meanwhile, at the farm, Clark and Martha insist Lois stay with them until they figure out if anyone will be coming after her since she saw who killed the senator. And they're right. Wes shows up because he's been sent to kill Lois. But again, she says his name and he freezes. Clark sees Wes, and then Wes grabs Lois and they vanish. Cue signature Clark-Chloe brainstorm session. As always. And they come up with a plan. Ready, break.
Okay.
Jump to Lois and Wes at Fort Avelston, we'll say. Okay. Lois tries to get Wes to remember who he is. She reminds him how he got the scar above his eye, that they were teens and they were drunk, and she kissed him and he panicked and puked and passed out, and he busted his head open on the floor.
Aww.
It's adorable. But he still doesn't remember, and she points out how he brought her to the fort where that happened. She's like, you brought me to Fort Avelston. That's where that happened. Like, you know me. You remember me. You just don't know it. So she's pleading with him to snap out of it. And then he does. He, overrides the chip in his brain, and he remembers her.
Oh, my God.
It's incredible. And Wes then tells Lois how he ended up in the hospital after that crash, the helicopter crash. So he didn't die. He ended up in the hospital, and Lex approached him about joining Project Ares. Lex said it was a new program to help soldiers do better on the field. Made it sound like it was this new type of like compartmentalization thing. Like you'll be able to fight, but you won't remember it. And so Wes was like, yeah, let's do it.
Whoa.
Needless to say, that's not what the project was.
No, but now he, like, Lex kind of has, like, immunity because they did it voluntarily.
Yep. Yeah, he volunteered.
Wow.
Which, of course, he then tells Lois, he's like, but if I knew that this is what it was, I wouldn't have agreed to it. Doesn't really matter, though, because he did.
Yeah.
While they're talking, the chip in Wes's brain reactivates, and Wes loses control again. He tries to strangle Lois, but Clark shows up and stops Wes, and Wes charges at Clark with super speed, trying to stab Clark, and Clark blasts Wes with his heat vision, which fries the chip in his brain. But it turns out the chip was, like, neurologically connected and the only thing keeping Wes alive.
Yeah, I was about to say, but I mean, to do that, you just kill him, right?
Yes,
Like,
which Clark, like, doesn't, of course didn't know. He probably thought this will save him. And then Wes dies in Lois's arms. And it's real sad.
did he shoot his heat vision through Wes's head?
I don't remember how he did it. It was like, yeah, it's like, like the chip was like here or something, and he like tries to like laser focus his heat vision to like fry the chip.
He shot heat vision at his brain. A kid dies, and he's like,
Yeah.
what?
I know. It's one of those kind of like, when like Spider-Man like flings like a manhole cover at a person and he's like, they're fine. And you're like, they're dead.
They're dead. I'm so sorry to break your bubble, Spider-Man, but you just murdered them.
So, yes. Cut to the planet the next day. Wes's body disappeared from the morgue. And since Lois is allegedly the only one who saw Wes, they just think she was making up a story because she writes for a tabloid paper. They think she was just creating a conspiracy for the Inquisitor. And so no one believes that this project exists and that Lex is behind it. And they just like dismiss everything. They're like, no, he died 4 months ago. And so then she vows to expose Lex once and for all.
Good luck.
I know. An admirable mission, but
Good luck.
Season 6, episode 22 is called Phantom. Some crazy shit happens at the top of this episode, and I just can't get into it all.
Okay.
Apparently, it was so much that I legitimately just wrote that straightforward in my notes. So, moving on. Martha is moving to D.C. to fill a congressional Senate seat. Martha's on the up and up, killing it.
Martha could have her own little scandal type show.
Yes. Oh my God. That'd have been incredible. So she's headed to DC. Lois can't let go of what happened to Wes. Obviously.
Sure.
Lois has seen a lot of death in this show. And finally, it's like a person really close to her died in her arms. Yes. She just keeps going over this series of 8 numbers that Wes kept repeating as he was dying, like as he's like malfunctioning. He kept saying these 8 numbers over and over again. Chloe tells Lois to stop digging for once, that this is legitimately dangerous. Leave it alone. Like, I know it's terrible, but you're going to get yourself killed. She pretends to submit to Chloe's command, but then she realizes what the numbers are. Their coordinates. So then obviously Lois is like, okay, well now I have to go to this place because I know what this is. Meanwhile, Clark finds Lana in the barn. Okay. She tells him she's leaving Lex, but she's going away.
Oh, where is she going?
So it's also not even like, hey, I'm leaving Lex and we can be together now. She's like, I'm leaving Lex and I'm leaving. Bye.
Well, leaving, yes, because being with Clark is killing Clark. correct?
Yes, you're right. You're right. I already forget. I'm just like, fuck it. It's stupid. She says Lex will be very angry, obviously, when she leaves. So she has to leave for good, but she needed to say goodbye. Clark finally tells Lana not only that he has powers, but that he's from another planet, blah, 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 everything else. And Lana confesses that she knows and that Lionel threatened to kill him if she didn't marry Lex. Clark immediately goes and attacks Lionel. Of course, Lionel, the slippery motherfucker, tells Clark the only reason he forced Lana to marry Lex was so that she could get close enough to Lex to find out what his plans are. So Lionel was like, no, I was actually using Lana as a pawn. And Clark...
explaining to the other pawns what you're doing with the other pawns.
Clark obviously doesn't want to believe this, and he threatens to kill Lionel. He's like, okay, yeah, I can kill you right now. Like, it would be so easy. Dun 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 dun! Martian Manhunter appears.
Oh my god.
And tells Clark that Lionel is an emissary of Jor-El. What? Jor-El is Clark's biological dad, in case you forgot. So basically, if you've seen Supernatural, it's like a Castiel Jimmy situation. And it's like Jor-El Lionel.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so Lionel actually was telling the truth. He really did have this intricate, horrible plan, but he was on Clark's side.
Whoa, okay.
It's nuts.
Crazy.
It's nuts, man. Let me tell you, Smallville is real good at pulling that shit out their ass in these final episodes.
I was gonna say, so then was he Jor-El when he told Lana, I will kill him?
No, the only time he's been possessed by Jor-El a couple times, but no, in this particular moment, I think Lionel was just like, that's the only way Lana will do what I say is if I threaten to kill Clark. So it wasn't a real threat, but coming from Lionel, you're going to believe it's a real threat. So, big plot twist. Later at the Luthor Mansion, Lana confronts Lex, telling him she's leaving. Then she tells him she knows her pregnancy was a lie. She was never pregnant. Lex was pumping her full of fake hormones to make her body think she was pregnant. He faked the sonograms just so she would marry him. Lex insists that she's lying. He would never do that. And she's like, you are so full of shit. And she leaves. And you know what?
She wasn't full of shit.
He was faking this pregnancy so that she would marry him because he was so afraid she would leave him for Clark.
Yikes.
Yeah, you spend all season watching Lex and you think like Lex is turning around. Like you think, oh, like Lana is such a good influence on him. But it just, as always, he can't decipher between love and hate, and obsession always overtakes it. And he was so obsessed with Lana that he did everything he could, even if it was going to hurt her and he was going to lie to her and it was going to fuck her up. Like, didn't matter.
Yeah.
It means he wins.
So then is that why she just collapsed?
Yes.
She had too many hormones, or do you think he just stopped one day and then she was like, ugh.
Yeah, he might have just stopped, or her body might have been like fucking
I don't know
shock.
what to do anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck.
Yeah. Like, this is when you're like, Lex is a villain.
Yeah.
Big plot twist.
Biological warfare.
Yeah. Well, and meanwhile, you find out he's been doing this fucking Project Ares shit. Like,
oof.
Yeah.
And buying baby clothes.
And acting like he's so excited for this baby. Like, I say again, Michael Rosenbaum in this show is underrated, snubbed, deserved accolades.
Yeah.
What he did for this Lex, I mean. Okay, so with that said, back at Lionel's office, There's a bunch of deets about the last Phantom they have to capture. Martian Manhunter almost got the Phantom, but they got injured. So now Martian Manhunter's like, so this is what we need to do. Cut to the dam at the Smallville Reservoir. These are the coordinates West kept repeating. So Lois shows up at the dam, breaks in to figure out what the hell Lex is really doing there, because obviously she's like, okay, West was repeating these numbers. Lex is behind whatever's going on in here. Mm-hmm. Immediately, a security guard pulls a gun on her. Should I start a tally?
Yeah.
Pulls a gun on her and tries to force her to leave. She disarms him and they start to fight, but suddenly the security guard pulls out a knife. Lois headbutts him, knocking him out cold, but she then realizes he stabbed her in the stomach.
Oh my God.
So she pulls out the knife and tries to find her way back out, but she's bleeding all over the place, and she tries to call Chloe, but then she collapses.
Fuck.
Fun fact, did you know it is very common with like victims of stabbings that they don't realize they've been stabbed for like a good 10 seconds?
From shock?
Yep.
Yeah.
Just a fun aside, Bradley Cooper on his episode of Armchair Expert, he talked about how he almost got stabbed on the subway, and he found a police officer. He like got off the subway and found a police officer, and they were looking at him and they go, "Were you stabbed?" And he was like, "No, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Like somebody tried to stab me." And they were like, "No, check. Did you get stabbed?" And he was like, "What?" So he like checks himself. He didn't get stabbed, obviously, but they were like, "You would be amazed at how many people don't realize
that they've been stabbed." Wow.
And I was like, "What?" And in this episode, like Lois doesn't even realize. She starts to walk away and then notices she has a knife in her stomach.
When I got my hand stabbed,
yes,
I was like, what is wrong? Because like everyone else reacted. And I was like, what? And I literally just pulled my hand off the blade. And I was like, oh.
Amy's been stabbed.
Not that bad, but yeah.
But you have. More than I can say.
I've lived. What can I say?
So Lois gets stabbed. She's bleeding everywhere. She tries to crawl to the door, dialing Chloe, and then she collapses. Meanwhile, Lana is on the phone with Lionel, telling him she can't do this anymore. She's leaving Lex. She's leaving Smallville, and she's never coming back. That's how she does the phone call.
Very frantic.
Can you hear it? Yes.
Yeah.
Lionel is begging her to calm down. He's like, just wait for me. I'm around the corner. He's in the car. Lionel pulls up, gets out of his car, and sees Lana rushing toward her SUV, and she climbs into the car, and then it blows up.
What? Lana dies? Godfather 1 style?
Apollina. Death.
Oh my God.
Does she?
Oh.
I know. Is it bad that the first time I saw this, I was like, oh, bummer.
Oh, she's dead. Damn. Well, that's what I'm experiencing right now. I was like, bitch, I didn't know they killed her off.
Yeah, no, they didn't. Oh. Spoilers. Cut to the Luthor mansion. Clark shows up to check in with Lionel about the Phantom situation that he was talking with Martian Manhunter about. And Lionel has to tell Clark that Lana is dead. Clark doesn't believe it. Lionel tells him, I was there. There was a bomb in her car. I saw the explosion.
Yeah, because who's putting a bomb in her car? Like, who is putting a bomb in her car?
Lex.
Like, she's dating the villain.
Yeah.
Like, no one's going to put a bomb in your car. Lois should be worried if there's a bomb in her car.
So you're saying, like, Lana wouldn't be expecting this?
No, I'm saying who the fuck's putting a bomb in her car?
Lex, because she said she was going to leave him. So, like, Lex, I bet, would rather her die than leave him.
Oh, I see. I didn't even think about that. I was like, because she's dating the villain. So, and she's, like, protected by crazy. Right. In my hands. Until you fuck around.
Yeah, until you fuck with the crazy. It's
and then you get a right bomb back in your car. That's how I end my arguments. Yes. Like, I'll just put a bomb in their car.
Just put a bomb in their car.
They won't see it.
No explanation needed. Needless to say, Clark doesn't take this news well. Back at the reservoir, Chloe breaks in looking for Lois because of the disconcerting phone call she received earlier. Chloe breaks into the dam and finds Lois unconscious, seemingly dead on the floor. So Lana has just been blown up by a bomb. Lois is pale in a pool of blood on the floor in this reservoir.
Jesus.
Chloe starts sobbing, and it's so sad because Lois is kind of like Chloe's big sister. And, you know, Chloe's like, who's going to look out for me, you know? And it's so sad. As Chloe's tears hit Lois's face, they heal her. I know. Don't worry. We'll come back. Don't worry.
Like Rapunzel?
Yes. Flower,
Okay.
gleam, and glow. We'll come back to that later, trust me. But Lois wakes up, no knife wound, except now Chloe is unconscious. Like, next to her.
Okay.
So, what? Cut to Clark shows up to get Lex for killing Lana. But when Clark confronts Lex, he realizes Lex didn't know Lana was dead. Like, genuinely. You can actually tell that Lex is like, what are you talking about? And then Lex tries to leave. And as he's like driving, he gets stopped by the police. And he gets out and he's like, hey, he's like, I'm just trying to get to my wife. And they're like, Lex Luthor, you're being arrested for the murder of Lana Lang.
Yeah.
But you see him genuinely being like,
yeah.
what?
Because he's also learning that his wife is dead.
Yes.
And he's being arrested.
Yes.
Okay.
Also, despite the fact that yes, Lex is a sociopath, I do believe there is a part of him that loves Lana.
Yeah.
Like I
think so
I
too.
100%. So when he hears this, especially coming from Clark, he knows like this is real. Like what are you saying to me? Lana's dead. Lex is being arrested for the murder. Lois is now alive, but we don't know what's going on with Chloe. Suddenly, the Phantom they were searching for breaks out of the dam, like out of this facility Lex was running in the reservoir. The Phantom sees Clark, immediately senses he's Kryptonian, and then the Phantom blasts itself at Clark and shapeshifts into a clone of Clark.
Oh, my. Okay.
Spoiler alert for Superman fans, this is Bizarro Superman. He comes into play in season 7. So, the Phantom is now a copy of Clark, has powers. Lionel makes his way into the reservoir and tries to help Clark take out the Phantom. Lionel shoves kryptonite into the Phantom's chest, but the Phantom absorbs the fucking kryptonite and it makes him stronger.
Oh.
So,
Good.
he and Clark are not the same.
No.
The Phantom then launches Clark through the dam, catapulting him who knows where. And then the Phantom just goes flying out of the reservoir. And that's the end.
And once again, they are ending a season with everyone has almost died or is dead. And Clark is somewhere. Clark has been thrown away.
Legitimately 2 seasons in a row now. Clark has been flung to who knows where, and everyone is maybe dead.
Yeah.
And then it's like, to be continued in season 7.
Great.
That's the rest of season 6.
So, Lana comes back, or is she like
Lana?
Is that how they wrote her off?
No. I wish I could own one. I would be so
One
lucky.
could wish. Even after they kill her, there's still a story to be told.
Yes. She's not done. Lana faked her own death. She faked the explosion. She's not done.
Figured.
She just fakes her own death so that she can be dead. So that then her marriage to Lex will obviously be null and void because she's dead.
She's not holding up her end.
Yeah. So she like I don't even fucking she like leaves the country or some shit. And then like Lex goes
She go back to Paris, maybe?
I think maybe. And then Lex goes and find her because he's like, you think I wasn't gonna find you? Like being dead was better than being married to me. And she's like, yeah. We're gonna get to all of this when I do season 7. But, you
What a
know,
bitch.
so unfortunately, well, he's like, well, you can come back to your fucking life, Lana. We're done. Go do what you want, you know?
Yeah.
Like, he's like, you really think you had to figure out, like, I couldn't handle a divorce?
Yeah, oh my God.
Like, you think you were that big of a deal to, like, real... Like, he's, like, has this moment of, like, wow, what was I doing?
In her defense, I mean, he did just create a very elaborate plan where he was poisoning her so she would think she was pregnant, so she would have to marry him.
Oh,
so
yeah.
on one hand, I get why she would think, yeah, I think I just need to be dead.
Yes.
I think I need to be dead, then he won't even try.
Oh, totally. But he's a narcissist, so he can't see it like that.
Right, but then, like...
He's like, is this about the pregnancy?
Is this about the poison? Relax. No, but like, if he's gonna be arrested and he's gonna sit in prison, he's a brilliant man. Like, he's gonna sit there for like maybe 2 days and he's gonna be like, she faked her own death.
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe 2 days. You know, because after he would run through the list of who in the fuck would put a bomb in her car if it wasn't me. So, yeah, I would be like, that bitch. And then obviously he got out of prison.
Oh, well, of course, because there was nothing linking him to it.
Yeah, so then, yeah, he would just go find her right away. So, yeah, what a dumb bitch. What a waste of her time.
Yeah, I know.
Her time, mostly.
Yes. Like, I do get it, but at the same time, I just, like, everything Lana does exhausts me. So when it came to this, and then the fact that I have to sit through one more season of this bitch after I thought she was dead... And
yeah, like,
Clark and her get together in this season. Season 7 is just, it's brutal.
Garbage.
And I will...
Anytime any show teases you by killing off a character and then, like, in the fucking, like, maybe in a 2 episodes time, or maybe the first episode of the next season, you learn they are, in fact, not dead. They have brought them back with a very empty reasoning like that. Like, you know, mistake. Like, you have killed them, kill them. Just leave them dead.
Yes.
I mean, this is dark, but what would have been better is if they just left her dead.
Yes.
Like, maybe she got into one of Lex's cars and the bomb was for Lex, a la The Godfather. And then she could have been dead. And everyone would have been like, oh, well, because someone put it in the car. Maybe someone from the Ares project.
Yeah.
Put a bomb in his car.
Anybody could have put a bomb in Lex's car. Let's be real.
Literally
he has so many
yeah,
enemies.
Just go like this.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, he probably put a bomb in his car. So that's just disappointing because, like, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just us. Maybe everyone else on the fan base got a lot of enrichment from Lana and really, really wanted to see more of Lana. But I think she genuinely adds nothing to the story anymore.
Yes. Especially not for Clark.
Yeah, she was wonderful in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's where she exists, canon.
Yes.
Right? So leave her, then just, boom, leave her alone after that.
And it's like...
Maybe like every season or so, she does a cameo. Because you run into people from high school.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, you know, like he does something cool at the paper, she sees it.
Well, because also, she and Chloe would obviously still stay friends.
Uh-huh.
She's allowed to exist.
Yeah, no, it's stupid.
Yeah.
Stupid, it's too much.
And then
it's too much Lana.
It's too much. And the fact that they bring her back, literally, it's almost like just so they can give us a season of Clark and Lana. Just to be like, look at how it doesn't work. You know how...
Yeah, literally.
You know how it hasn't worked all of this time? Look, it's really not working.
Yeah. Well, like, you know, everyone, like, I don't know, maybe everyone during the high school era of Smallville was just like, I just want Clark to be happy. I wish they would put him and Lana together. But then once we meet Lois, I can't imagine anyone wanting Lana to happen at all.
I know.
Because we all know the prophecy.
Oh.
Clark and Lois get together.
So many people that watched Smallville that I knew wanted Clark and Lana.
It doesn't make any goddamn
It doesn't.
sense.
I do know how many, like, I was like, what?
They don't
I'm like,
work.
are you watching the same show as me?
Yeah. They don't even look that cute together for
No.
me to be like, yes, please.
Especially next to Lois. It's not, it's like,
No,
they don't really
waste
work
time.
They don't really work together anyway. And then you put him next to Lois and you're like, and we're supposed to ignore that?
Yeah, I don't know. I just no. Like if I no. If I decided to watch a show about like something where I already knew the ending, and so then when like they meet their soulmate, the last fucking thing I want is the detour with the like unrequited love. That's not what I want at all. I'm like, yeah, I get that you maybe like you run the risk of like putting it together too soon.
I don't care. Give it to me.
But for the superhero stories,
yes.
There's never going to be nothing that you can do. Like you're not going to run out of story.
No. Two things.
He's a superhero. It's just sweet. It just is like icing on the cake when they finally just have love.
Yes.
You know?
Two things. One, like on top of all of that, just wait until the season 7 ending.
Oh boy.
You thought this was bad? Wait until what Lana has to do in the end of season 7. And 2, what you just said about like, especially when you know the ending, like you know the soulmate, and then you're like, why do I have to just wait until we get to season 8 and I can talk about that fully.
Okay.
So that was season 6, part 2. Less episodes, just more in the few episodes that I did talk about, especially because like you can't get around not briefly summarizing what happens in each finale of the season because it's so impressive how much shit they managed to just like
they go okay, it all fit in that one episode.
Yep.
Got it.
Next will be season 7. I hate season 7. I'm just gonna be honest with everyone now because it will affect the tone in which I discuss season 7. They bring in Kara, who is Supergirl. Don't at me. I don't like Kara. Kara sucks. Clark and Lana are together in season 7. There's no point.
So what they've done is they've added a character that didn't need to be there, a distraction. But it's a distraction with female empowerment, so maybe like no one can be mad.
Mm-hmm.
And
you can't
and
say
they've
anything.
added this detour. Because I bet they got renewed for more seasons, and then they were like, "Fuck! Well, now we have to delay this."
Mm-hmm. I'm sure
it's just so noticeable, and it shouldn't be noticeable.
So yeah, but overall, I love the nuggets of Clark and Lois that we get in season 6. I mean, we get some real good little tease moments of the fact that they are obviously endgame. We meet Oliver and Jimmy, which I love both. Solid season all around. Great Lois character development. We're getting somewhere. And then it takes a nosedive in season 7, and then everything looks up in season 8. And that's that. We finally did it. 4th time's a charm. Well, as always, you can find all of our links at linktree/n&npod. You can send us an email at skeletwinsproductions@gmail.com, which is also on our link tree. And if you're listening, you can watch us on YouTube now, which is why we've had technical problems. And if you're watching us on YouTube, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for sitting and partaking in our chaos. And we're happy to be here.
Okay.
All right. Well, I love you.
I love you.
Okay.